Good evening, and welcome to a reading of SONIC06.EXE. This world was devastated before I was born. A harsh, bleak place where we lived in eternal darkness. Life is a struggle, and people live without hope. How did this happen? No one will answer me directly, but they always point to SONIC06.EXE. Many years ago, I went to a small yard sale in Soliana. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just browsing. How do I decide what to get at this yard sale? I thought in my head. All of a sudden, a voice from a large pile of old video games. By knowing the truth, of course. It sounded like the voice of Mephiles the Dark from my favorite game, Sonic 06. I searched through the old pile of games. All of them had their proper labels, except one. The case was a blank maroon fuchsia case with the words Sonic06.EXE written on the case, on duct tape, on the front of the case. The voice continued. Just as a flower comes from a seed, or a chicken comes from an egg, everything has an origin. What must I do? I asked the case with a blank maroon fuchsia case with the words Sonic06.EXE written on the case on duct tape on the front of the case. You need to find the being originally responsible for this catastrophe. With my help, you can, because I have the power to travel through time. In order to change the past, you must eliminate the individual who awakened Iblis. Seriously, that's what he said. I read it. It's in the subtitles. Check the game. Who must I eliminate? I asked, clutching the blank maroon fuchsia case in my now sweaty palms. I then started to have a vision. It was my favorite character, Sonic, from Sonic 06. It looked like it did in that one cutscene where he is standing in the fire with the black background on a Chaos Emerald. Are you saying I have to kill Sonic from Sonic 06? I enunciated through my dry kips. I had another vision. It was Mephiles. He was standing on a field of hyper-realistic blood. He did not speak. He only nodded a somber nod as he cried 666 tears of hedgehog blood. All of a sudden I awoke. I knew I needed to buy this game. I brought it up to the yard salesman. As I showed the case, a look of dread appeared on the man's face. Where in Sonic's name did you find that? The man screamed. The game spoke to me. I found it in the pile of all your old video games. I went to point at the pile, but it had vanished. You should that back on the shelf, boy. The boy who traded that game into this yard sale had a blank look on his face when he handed me that game. All he could say was, "Don't buy the blood gem." That was the last thing he said before a nearby fake ring bomb went off, killing him instantly. That game is cursed. I don't believe in that type of stuff, I answered. Now let me buy that game. No! The man screamed, trying to take the game from me. I don't normally steal things, but I knew I had to play this game. I tore the case from the man's pruny, shriveled hands. May Sonic have mercy on you! The man yelled as I ran away. After I gained some distance, I looked to see if the man was chasing me. However, where the yard had been, there was nothing but the game receipt floating in the wind. This shook me a bit, but I needed to do this for Mephiles. I returned home and opened the game case. Instead of a PS3 disc in the case, I found an old floppy disk with the words Sonic06.EXE written on it. I didn't know how to play the disc, so I decided to try it in different systems I had around the house. I tried it on my PS3, GameCube, N64, Game Boy Pocket, and my Philips CDI. However, on the 6th console I tried, my Virtual Boy, the disc seemed to fit. After blowing on the disc 6 times and resetting the system 6 times, the game flickered to life on the 6th reset, on the 6th blow, on the 6th console. That's strange, I thought. Must be a coincidence. As I peered into my Virtual Boy, I found it strange that the game was in full HD color, with graphics more hyper-realistic than I had ever seen on any game on any console ever. That includes my favorite game, Sonic 06. The familiar sound of the title music, His World, started to play, and a wave of nostalgia crashed into every orifice of my body. However, something was wrong. The music was a bit slower and was playing in reverse, and the title would not appear. I pressed the start button several times on the Virtual Boy, but the title would not appear. Instead, it was stuck, the scene with trees blowing in the wind that is in the background of the title screen. I noticed that for one split frame, the eagle in the background's head became the head of Mephiles, and it was carrying the disembodied head of Miles Tails Prower, clutched in its talons. I ignored this, thinking it must have been a glitch. Puzzled, I remembered that a button combo that Shadow was told at the loading screen for White Acropolis in Sonic 06. I pressed the combo AA... AAA. The title appeared on the screen. However, the title was upside down and covered in Tails' blood. It was so vivid and realistic, I almost puked. I regret doing what I did next. Before pressing the start button, I had hopes and dreams. Before pressing the start button, I led a normal, happy life. Before pressing the start button, I had people who loved me. I had a reason to live. Now, all seems hopeless. All seems lost. I fear I may not be able to go on. In fact, I know that I cannot go on. My existence is futile now. Life gives me no joy anymore. I know the world is better off without me. I must end my sad, sorry life. Anyway, the game started. The intro scene commenced as usual. Nothing was out of the ordinary, except instead of a torch being handed to Elise, it was actually Tails' disembodied head from the title screen. Elise then had her vision, however the vision was a bit different. In the blazing inferno, I saw none other than my one true hero, Sonic the Hedgehog, from Sonic 06. His eyes glowed sanguine and his gloves were covered in the blood of Tails. He stared straight into my eyes. I could feel him penetrating my very soul. I felt the life being drained from me. The vision ended, and my living hell began. I started the game in Soliana. I just jumped around to familiarize myself with the controls. I accidentally glitched through a wall, which sent me to an area of the game that I had never seen before. There were tons of stop signs and other varicose signs warning me not to go on. I should have listened. The first few levels played just like my favorite game, Sonic 06, except for one small detail. All the water in the game was replaced by Tails' blood. Also, the ring boxes gave out 666 rings. Every time Sonic performed the spin dash, he left a trail of a backingly realistic blood behind him. In order to complete a level with an S rank, you needed to finish in 6 minutes and 66 seconds, and having obtained 666 rings, and killing 666 enemies, and finding 666 silver medals, and getting 666 bonus points from defeating enemies, and getting a final score of 666 for the level. But other than that, it played pretty much normal. I played the game and got up to the Silver boss fight. During the cutscene where Silver calls Sonic the Iblis Trigger, something changed. Silver said, "You are the Iblis Trigger, Eldred." That's my name. I was shocked. How did the game know my name? I knew I needed to defeat Silver or something abominable was going to happen. I proceeded with the fight, which was very easy for me, until finally Silver managed to catch me and throw me. Instead of hitting a wall, I glitched through the floor, this is normal for Sonic 06, and fell into a hidden area of the level. To get to this area, I fell for 6 minutes and 66 seconds and got an S rank. I landed in a fiery area surrounded by blood and lava. There were demons everywhere. I know this sounds hard to believe, but I think the place was hell. I ran through the area searching for a way out. I came upon a demon who said, "Hey!" Sorry. Hey. The way the shopkeep in my favorite game, Sonic 06, said it. I decided to see his wares. He had 3 gems. He had the purple and blue gems that I was familiar with. The 3rd gem he had was the red blood gem. I recalled what the yard salesman had said about the young boy that traded the game had said, "Don't buy the blood gem." Luckily, the item that the merchant had was the blood red gem. When I went to buy the gem, I could not find a price in the price box. It was just blank, so I pressed the A button. The shopkeep said, "Hey," in his regular voice, but then proceeded to say in a demonic voice, "That will be 666 Sonic lives!" The demon then tore Sonic apart. Each disgusting sound of each tear echoed in my brain. The horrid screams of this little hedgehog life being taken from him filled me with despair. His hollow, staring eyes beckoned for me to end his suffering, but all I could do was sit there helplessly and watch his complete and utter disembowelment. I knew then and there that my hero breathed his last breath. Mephiles deceived me. With my tears in my eyes, I tried to remove the disc from the virtual boy. The disc came out, but the game played on. I couldn't stop Sonic's suffering. I looked at the disc and saw that the label on the disc was peeling. I tore the label off to see what was underneath. The floppy read SONIC0666.EXE in hyper-realistic blood red letters. It was then I realized that something was off. I knew if I had played the game to the end, Elise could revive Sonic with her true love's kiss. So, I stayed up all night and day for the next 2 months and completed Silver and Shadow stories. This allowed me to unlock the final story. I spent another 2 months night and day collecting the Chaos Emeralds from this story. Finally, I was ready for the cutscene before the boss. Sonic would finally be revived. The cutscene initiated, and I saw Elise kneel to supply a kiss of red-hot passion to Sonic's rotting corpse. However, before Elise gave the kiss, she removed the mask from her head. It wasn't Elise at all. It was me! I was Princess Elise the whole time and I didn't even know it. And I wasn't kissing Sonic at all. I was sucking him from existence. My suctiony mouth slowly and gently consumed Sonic into my being. I had become whole. I was the Iblis Trigger. It was time for the final boss fight. Instead of Solaris spawning, I noticed a different shape in the distance. It was my younger twin half-brother Jacob. He roared a mighty roar to show his bitterness toward me for getting all of her parents' attention. "Don't you see, Eldred?" That's still my name. "You brought this upon yourself. I will never forgive you for making our parents miss my bar mitzvah to watch you compete in that Little League, MLG League of Legends tournament. That was the most important moment of my short life, and you ruined it. My only choice was to take my own life while playing your favorite game, Sonic 06. Only then could I possess the game, making it Sonic 0666. SONIC0666.EXE. I was flooded with guilt. I could not stand to bear that I had caused my own younger twin half-stepbrother's death. I knew I had to do something. And by do something, I mean brutally murder him. Again! The fight began. The uplifting, orchestrated version of his world kicked in, providing the perfect backdrop for my brother's complete and savage evisceration. I swiftly evaded my brother's first attack and snapped his neck. I then ripped open his stomach and strangled him with his own entrails. I then flew his fading body down to the lava, which was now spewing out from all orifices of the planet. I held his body in the lava so that he would be burned alive and drowned, the two worst deaths I can possibly imagine. Once his body fell lifeless, I consumed his body too, to become the ultimate life form. I was now Shadow the Hedgehog from my favorite game, Sonic 06. I then hunted down the conniving Mephiles the Dark. I grabbed his throat with all my hedgehog might and asphyxiated him until his last dying breath. He looked at me with his soulless eyes and said, "The scariest part of this whole experience is you, the reader, are Eldred." I then realized I wasn't me this whole time. You were me! You were the one that killed Sonic. You were the one that killed your younger twin half-brother Jacob. You were the one who killed Mephiles the whole time. You are the ultimate life form. You are the Iblis trigger. And the even scarier part is that you had amnesia and forgot this ever happened. So the next time you find a blank maroon fuchsia case with the word Sonic06.EXE written on the case on duct tape on the front of the case, remember, don't bother stealing it from the yard salesman, because you have already beaten it with all S ranks, and you didn't even know it. That concludes Sonic06.EXE.